Hey guys, Daniel here and welcome back to another video. Here today, I just want to talk to you guys about Voyager Digital stock and why I am not selling. We're going to go through my long-term price targets, my short-term price targets, and talk a little bit about Coinbase and how the two compare. If you haven't seen my video on Coinbase yet, I really recommend you go ahead and give that a watch. It goes in depth into their 2020 earnings, their Q1 earnings, and their current valuation. It really is quite incredible as the Coinbase IPO and Coinbase as a company lays out an incredible path for Voyager and gives us almost a look into the future of where Voyager could be at potentially within the next few years. Now, before we get started here, I have a big announcement to make. I announced it in my latest video, but just generally, we just made a Discord channel for the YouTube channel. It's called the Finance Channel Discord server. So if you want to join, talk about stocks, cryptocurrencies, and other things along those lines, make sure to check out the first link in the description down below or the pinned comment. You can click that link and get invited right away to the Discord channel. We can talk about literally anything you want finance related. So I'll see you guys there. So the first thing I want to talk about is this comment here. What is the next VYGVF? Voyager as a company currently makes up around 45% of my portfolio. So, given that, that shows the conviction I have in that stock here today. Although it has increased so significantly, I'm still holding all of my shares, and I've actually added shares as of a couple weeks ago. Now, when you have a position, you got to picture it like this. All right, I have these shares, but I'm essentially buying those shares again and again and again every single day as that share price changes. If I think the opportunity with Voyager is stale and isn't there anymore, I'm probably going to sell out of my position. But just the fact that I'm continuing to add to my Voyager position shows my bullishness on the company over the near term and over the long term. Now, whether or not I decrease my exposure in Voyager due to, having a significant weighting in my portfolio, potentially in the back half of 2021, early 2022, that's a very big possibility. But again, the next Voyager will come naturally. I still think the next Voyager is still Voyager, and I hope to express that to you guys in this video. Now, when we look at my long-term price targets for Voyager, we're going to take a look at what I had previously, and now we're going to kind of compare the numbers with Coinbase and try to add them to my Voyager projections here. Now, in 2021, I have around $500 million in revenue. Now, this could very well end up being a little bit conservative as it implies around a 10% growth rate month over month for the rest of the year. I could see this maybe being a 15% growth rate month over month for the rest of the year. In that case, we could experience maybe $650 million in revenue. But these are my long-term price targets. So, either way, we're using essentially Voyager's projections of around $50 billion in assets under management by 2023-2024, which equates to $5 billion in revenue, given that 10% of assets under management go directly to revenue every single year. Now, when we look at gross margins, just looking at the Coinbase IPO has made me so much more bullish on Voyager as a company and has really taken my conviction in the company from here to here. Here's why. When we looked at Coinbase, I looked at their earnings report, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, there are not many companies out there that are at the profitability that Coinbase is at. When we looked at Coinbase in their latest quarterly report, we saw net profit margins, net income margins at over 42%, guys. Meaning for every $100 in revenue that came into Coinbase, $42 went into the bottom line. Now, when we look at Voyager, I have my gross margins at around 70%. These are around 70, 80%. We'll see where they are in their next earnings report. When we look at operating expenses, I have that sitting at around 40%. That gives them a net income margin of 30%. But now looking at Coinbase, guys, I think to myself, there is no reason why Voyager can't be a company that potentially has net income margins at 35, 40% over the long run. So this is something that we have to change, guys. Let's assume, gross margins stay the same, but given what I'm seeing with Coinbase, Voyager doesn't have that many operating expenses. Keep in mind, they're essentially like one's a cryptocurrency trading platform, the other one's a cryptocurrency trading platform. So the fees related to running the two as a percentage of revenue is actually pretty similar. So assuming this, let's assume maybe a 35% operating expense, right? Before I press enter here, before it's around $1.5 billion in net income by 2024. We increase this to 35% and we increase net income by $250 million. Now, when we apply potentially a 50 price to earnings ratio, this gives us an $87 billion company 5 years down the road if they manage to execute on their long-term vision. But this is the next thing I want to talk about with you guys, the price to earnings ratio. I have been using a 50 PE ratio when valuing Voyager over the long run. When I looked at Coinbase, guys, this thing was trading at a 247 price to earnings multiple using 2020 numbers. At a $100 billion valuation, this thing was trading at a 240-ish price to earnings ratio. This is obviously in the private markets. We'll see where Voyager eventually does open on their direct listing, which is next week on Friday. That will give us a better sense of where Voyager should be at valuation-wise. Stick around. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to see my immediate video on the comparison between the two valuations. As right now we're comparing Coinbase's valuations in the private markets to Voyager in the public markets. Once Coinbase IPOs, we can expect their valuation to actually increase pretty significantly given what we've been seeing with IPOs in the past few months and past year here. So, I'm not going to give Voyager a 200 price to earnings ratio, but imagine they trade at maybe 100 multiple. Guys, this is nuts, At this point, you have a $175 billion company. Now, will Voyager be a $175 billion company? I'm going to say most likely no. I could definitely see it happening, but at that point, we would have to see a continued boom in cryptocurrencies and essentially no cold winter. Now, when we look at, cryptocurrencies, they generally tend to trade in cycles. We have a bull cycle in cryptocurrencies that generally tend to last right around 4 years. And then we tend to experience a bear market. This is based on historical data going back many, many years. So, assuming that we have a bear market, this could significantly decrease Voyager's numbers. But, despite them potentially not hitting these exactly because of a cold winter, we can still assume that the market is going to look at these numbers, look at these potential numbers, and price this into the stock price here today. I'm going to use an example. Picture Tesla stock, right? Tesla stock has increased, over 10x in the past, year and a half, 2 years here, right? Has the business grown at 10x since then? No. But the investor's perception of the business has changed to the point that they're now pricing in growth into the future and allowing Tesla to trade at a richer multiple. What I could see with Voyager within the next potentially couple months, weeks here is, investors really looking forwards with this stock and saying, all right, they're going to do $500-600 million in revenue in 2021, but this is a company that could potentially do billions of dollars in revenue in the next few years. And given that, we're going to price in that growth here today because that is what the stock market does. So although Voyager, may never hit $1,000 per share, and, although this is excluding the potential of a crypto cold winter, it is important to look at the potential of Voyager as, investors may start to price that in 2021. So now let's take a look at my, 1-year price targets based on actual fundamentals. And I'm going to, again, explain this and explain that perception of investors' mindset in a sec. When we look at revenue, we had January revenue of 8.5 million, February revenue of 20 million. Based on my assumptions, I think March revenue will end up being right around $30 million. Now, going forward, I have 10% compounded monthly, essentially, for their revenue. If cryptocurrency continues to expand, this will be very conservative. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. If we see cryptocurrencies continue to drift up higher, maybe 5, 10, 15% on a monthly basis in terms of like an increase, I could easily see this number being 15, 20% month over month growth for the rest of the year. And if we do that, obviously, that significantly increases that 2021 revenue span to a much higher number. But let's just use 10% in this case, right? That gives us, right around $528 million in 2021 revenue, and lets us exit the year at an over $800 million yearly revenue run rate. Now, let's use a price to sales ratio of 20. Again, this is very conservative, guys. At a price to sales of 20, this is an over $10 billion company with a price target of $76 per share. Keep in mind, Voyager is currently trading at 25 bucks. So even using these, generally conservative numbers, we can still potentially expect Voyager to be a 3x stock over the next year here. Now, let's assume this Coinbase IPO happens, cryptocurrencies continue to expand, and investors start to look into the future. Let's expect maybe a 15% compounded monthly growth rate for Voyager when it comes to their revenue. That gives us $666 million in revenue by the end of 2021. Let's assume a price to sales ratio of 25. There we go. That increases it even more to almost $120 per share, almost a 5x in share price by the end of the year. So, given a lot of these growth stocks are trading at price to sales ratios of 20, but then we have Coinbase trading at a price to earnings ratio of around 250, right? So, although we can't really compare the price to sales ratio yet, make sure to subscribe, because once Coinbase does IPO and do their direct listing, I will have an immediate video out comparing their price to sales ratio and applying that to Voyager, because that will give us a great sense of what Voyager should be valued at today, and potentially what Voyager could be valued at in the future once they expand, because keep in mind, Coinbase is a massive, massive company. Let's apply a 30 price to sales ratio just for fun here, guys. That's a $20 billion company, or a price target of $142. So in my opinion, when I look at 2021, if nothing major happens to the positive side or to the downside with cryptocurrencies, I could definitely expect over $100 per share for Voyager. And if investors continue to look forwards, or maybe cryptos continue to, absolutely blossom throughout the rest of the year, I could definitely see this being in that upper range of that $100 range. So anyways, guys, if you appreciate this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel, make sure to check out that Discord link. I just want to build a community of investors here. So, if you do end up joining that Discord, make sure to take full advantage of it, ask any questions, really talk about different stocks, and gain as much value as you can from there, as that is my total goal with this YouTube channel and for us as a community. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate you being here, watching till the end. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.